Tackling the evaluative question. In this presentation, we're going to look at how you would tackle an evaluative question in business. This could be for any course that you're studying. By the end of this presentation, you should be able to develop the skills that you need to draw logical and reasoned conclusions. So what do we mean when we talk about evaluation? Well, this presentation is going to look at the concept of evaluation from your business exams point of view. Here I'm going to show you a question and give you some time to think about an answer that you might come up with. Before, I will pull out some of the key concepts that you should have identified and show you how you would construct an answer that would get, hopefully, all the marks available. Don't forget, you can find more resources and quizzes online at BeeBusinessBee, and you can also follow me on Twitter, it's at BeeBusinessBee, and subscribe to the YouTube channel by clicking the button down below. So here is your question. B owns a honey business and has produced the following cash flow forecast. B gives trade customers 1 month's credit and is considering buying a new machine to produce honey in May. Discuss the possible solutions for B's cash flow problems. You should pause the video now and try and answer the question. Try to give 2 or 3 solutions that you can think of. Try and write the answer down, and then when you're ready with an answer, unpause the video and I'll take you through some of the concepts that you should have covered. So step 1. You need to identify the cash flow problems for B. Firstly, I'm hoping that you've identified the closing balance issue, that in the months of May and June, the closing balance is negative. So that means that B is overdrawn, and obviously is using her overdraft, which is going to cost her money because it's expensive to use that overdraft. Don't be afraid to use those technical terms. You've got to try to use them because the examiner is looking to see that you understand business. Also, as you can see in the month of May, her net monthly is a negative, so she actually makes a loss, according to that, in the month of May of £42,300. What's caused that? Well, because she's purchased that new machine. So one of the possible problems she's got is the actual purchase of the new machine. That's the obvious point. But of course, there are other problems, such as, look at the credit sales up there. Remember, she gives 1 month's credit. Look how they're starting to increase and get larger. And of course, that is cash that you don't get in for 1 month. So obviously, they were sales in May that she had in June there, and June sales in July when she got paid. Of course, increasing the credit sales means that you'll not be able to use that cash instantly and you're standing out of it, which could possibly be used to solve any potential cash flow problem. So the second step, let's try and think about some solutions to the cash flow problem. So, what could we come up with? Well, do you have to pay for the machine all at once? Or could you try and get credit with your supplier to pay over a number of months? That might be more logical. What about £10,000 over the next 5 months? Could be ask all customers in May to pay in cash rather than on 1 month's credit. Would that help to reduce the amount that she needs to borrow in that month when the business is overdrawn? Could be look to get a cheaper supplier of the machinery. Could be even look to get a cheaper supplier of raw materials. But then what's the knock-on effect of that, and what are the consequences of finding a cheaper supplier? Would that affect her quality and her sales? Could be look to increase the selling price of the honey and hopefully increase the amount of revenue she makes. But of course, again, what would be the knock-on effect? Would she actually make more revenue overall? These are all ideas that you should be jotting down on paper, ideally, or in your exam paper. Just come up with ideas really quickly, thinking about what do I want to include in my answer. And now we're going to try and apply them. Now that's what is really important, is pick up all the marks. You want to try and apply it by using the data from what you see in front of you. So I'm saying perform any suitable calculations that will help to support your answer. For example, if the business was only to pay £10,000 each month for 5 months, then it actually would never have a negative closing balance, and it never actually need to use an overdraft. So it could actually afford to pay £10,000 in May and in June, and then also £30,000 in July, and still never have a negative closing balance. That's done because I spent some time just changing some of the numbers around. Really simple, really quick to do. Doesn't take long, very simple to do, and very easy way to solve a cash flow problem. Or I could maybe say, for example, if the business wasn't to offer for credit for customers in April, then this would mean that May would now have £30,000 in cash and June would have £40,000 in cash sales. And that would mean that the business is now only overdrawn for the month of May by £20,900, which would not cost as much money to borrow on an overdraft. So you see, straight away, you can see that it makes sense. Now, the fourth step is to actually produce your answer. So let's have a look at what a possible answer could look like. Here is one that I've created. Cash flow is the inflows and outflows of money in a business. Notice that I'm picking up an easy knowledge mark there. B has a problem with cash flow in the months of May and June, where the business is overdrawn and has a negative closing balance of minus 38,400 and minus 22,300. Notice I'm getting an application. I'm applying the numbers to the question that I've got. This is bad for B, as this will mean using an overdraft which is expensive for her business because of the high interest rate that's charged. So I'm explaining the reason why an overdraft is bad. If B wants to buy the machine in May and change nothing else, then I suggest that she arranges a bank loan in May and pays this back over time, as the interest repayments will be lower and the business can afford the monthly repayment. So there's a point straight away. There's a solution that I'm making to a cash flow problem based on application and logic. Here's my second argument. Another solution would be to agree credit terms with the supplier of the machinery. If B could agree to pay £10,000 each month over 5 months, then this would mean that B would never be overdrawn and would always have a positive cash flow. B could actually even afford to pay £10,000 in May and June and pay £30,000 in July and still have a positive cash flow overall. Notice the way I've applied my answer using data and supporting the points that I'm making. And here's my final point, my third point that I'm making here. Another solution could be to reduce the amount of credit sales that B is making and get the customers able to pay by cash and not on 1 month's credit. This will improve the overall cash flow of B's business, and although it would not totally solve the cash flow problem, it would mean that B is only overdrawn for the month of May by £20,900, which would be better off as she would not have as high a rate of interest charges to pay on the money that she's borrowed in her overdraft. And as you can see, a fairly comprehensive answer that I produced there. So now, because it's an evaluation question, we need to form a conclusion. This means at the end of your answer, you need to sum it all up. In the conclusion, don't present new information. Just sum up what you presented already. So, here's my conclusion. Overall, in my opinion, B should use a range of all the strategies above to solve a cash flow problem. However, if she only wants to use one solution, then the best one for her business would be to try and arrange credit with her machine supplier. If she can pay back £10,000 each month, then this means she can have a new machine and also ensure that she will not have any months where she has a negative cash flow position and the business is overdrawn. This helps B to ensure that business is not going to have the added cost of interest repayments on the money that's borrowed, as this would only make the cash flow position worse. That's a straightforward conclusion and explaining how she solves her cash flow problem. Which, of course, leads you to the completed answer. That would be a completed answer which I would be happy for you to produce in the exam, and you pick up all the marks. Clearly, it depends on what you've been asked, how you answer a question. I mean, look at what I did there. I used the data from the question. Hopefully, you've got somewhere near that, and hopefully, you've followed what I've covered in this presentation. If you've got any questions, ask them below or tweet me. It's at BeeBusinessBee. Thanks for checking out the BeeBusinessBee YouTube channel. Don't forget to click the subscribe button down below to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. It's at BeeBusinessBee. Also, give the Facebook page a like. It's facebook.com/BeeBusinessBee. And lastly, don't forget to check out the online hive of activities found on BeeBusinessBee.co.uk, full of quizzes, activities and resources. And remember, until next time, keep buzzing.